Igor Stravinsky's last major work, Requiem Canticles, for contralto and bass soloists, chorus, and orchestra, completed in 1966, begins with an energetic prelude for strings. Stravinsky uses two different 12-tone series in the Requiem, with the preludes identified as Series 2 in his sketchbook. In its ordering, the series contains a preponderance of interval classes 1 and 2, followed by 5. There are no explicit tritones, and only one instance each of interval classes 3 and 4, which occur at the ends of each hexachord. Several segmental trichords and tetrachords are also emphasized in the piece. The opening 0-1-6, insistently repeated in the final measures. The chromatic cluster 0-1-2-3. A contrasting, open-sounding stacked fourths or fifths 0-2-5-7. And a 0-1-4, prominent at the climactic point of the movement. Throughout, a nearly constant stream of regular 16th note pulses in the accompaniment is punctuated by smaller hiccups and two longer interruptions that divide the movement into three segments. The movement has four sections related in part to the unfolding of series form hexachords in the accompaniment, but also created through a pattern. Each section begins with the accompaniment layer initiating with a rapid ascent, followed by the addition of one or more solo layers that are metrically, rhythmically, and melodically distinct. Each solo layer, once introduced, repeats its earlier material at every return in a process of gradual accretion which builds musical energy and tension. Each section is approximately 1/3 longer than the previous, counterbalancing the textural crescendo with a steady slowing of harmonic rhythm in the accompaniment, though the arrival in section 3 at its only four-voice texture in an insistently repeated 0-2-5-7 tetrachord, followed by a repeated 0-1-4 trichord in section 4, serves to maintain the musical tension. Here's the graph of the opening section of the piece, showing the arch shape of the accompaniment. Notice how Stravinsky's cutaway score itself reflects that shape visually. One of Stravinsky's most distinctive innovations in 12-tone technique, which he employed in many of his serial works, is the use of hexachordal rotation and rotational arrays. Here we see the second hexachord from the prime form of the series. Rotating its pitch classes and rewriting the hexachord in corresponding order results in a rotational array, with the blue diagonal lines tracing through the position of the origin note, or root, of the hexachord, pitch class 8. In Stravinsky's arrays, each rotation is then transposed to start on the same pitch class, in this case, 1. If we follow the same diagonal trace, we have 6 distinct pitch classes, reading top-down 8, 6, 1, 3, 5, and 2, which form the same Z11 hexachord as the original. Here are the rotational arrays for the discrete hexachords of the prime and inverted forms of the series. In shaping the prelude, Stravinsky draws from only a small repertory of the available rows. The entire accompaniment layer is simply an unfolding of the series prime form followed by its retrograde, with pitch class 7 serving as a common tone. Each of the solo layers, at least partially shown here along with their order of entry, unfolds 1 or 2 rows. A brief examination of the first 2 solo sections of the prelude will demonstrate Stravinsky's careful shaping of musical coherence in multiple dimensions, the individual solo parts, the interaction of solo parts with the accompaniment, and the interaction of multiple solo parts with each other. The solo violin 1 part is drawn from the retrograde of rotation 5 of the prime form's second hexachord. It begins with a characteristic melodic gesture of repeated notes, which Stravinsky described as a stutter. An insistent major second gives way to a sudden flurry of notes, ending with a falling tritone. Recall that the tritone is not explicitly present in the original series ordering, but because of rotation, it's now revealed on the surface, and Stravinsky chooses a row with that distinctive interval for the cadence. In choosing that row, he also connects the solo and accompaniment layers through 4 shared pitch classes, thereby lending even greater significance to the unique tritone-forming pitch classes 7 and 1 at the cadence. Underneath the soloist, the accompaniment completes its first hexachord. Notice that it skips over pitch class 10, leaping from 9 down to 2. Stravinsky's choice of row for the soloist provides the missing pitch class as its initial emphasized note. The elision creates a falling perfect fifth cadential motion in the accompaniment, and the 2 layers converge on D at the end of measure 6 before the soloist leaps up to A. The final distinctive tritone leap in the solo forms a 0-1-6 trichord with the accompaniment, referencing the opening trichord of the original series. Solo Violin 2 enters in measure 12 with a rhythmically compressed form of the original series' first hexachord, mirroring what the accompaniment unfolds over 7 measures. It features another insistent major second, framed by 0-1-6 and 0-1-2 trichords. The 2 solo parts combine to create heavily emphasized 0-1-2 trichords nested within a 0-1-2-3 tetrachord. They continue on with something especially striking. Instead of rows, Stravinsky traverses the second rotational array and pulls out each of the transposed hexachordal roots. He orders them so that Violin 1 begins with an insistent minor sixth, an interval class occurring only once in the original series, followed by a quick flurry grouped into a diatonic-sounding 0-2-4-7 tetrachord, and ending with a falling minor third. Violin 2 begins with a 0-2-4-7 tetrachord whose last notes are an insistent major second, all cast in a very folk-like melody, characteristic in so much of Stravinsky's music. This is followed by a 0-1-2 trichord and a rising major third, the only solo layer to cadence with an ascending motion. The 2 lines form a retrograde canon, strongly emphasizing 0-1-2 and combining at the cadence to present the complete Z11 hexachord. A continued study of the Prelude will reveal further connections within and across its increasing number of layers. This opening movement of a requiem seems somehow to capture in a mere 70 musical seconds the process of accretion of new layers built on top of repetitions, of meaning and richness while one's life is lived.